Hello guys, let me be clear. This is not your regular, surface level football analysis channel where players and team performances are analyzed rather emotionally. If that's what you're looking for, you might as well skip and move on. So here on Soccer Nitty Gritty, just like its name, I'm not just gonna, shove my feedback down your throat. Rather, I'm gonna try as much as possible to, break it down as meticulously as I can to its most granular form, such that even a 10-year-old would see and understand almost seamlessly. If that sounds like what you would love to be a part of, trust me guys, you just found the right channel if you're watching me for the very first time. By the way, my name is Rash. Grant me the privilege of your audience and time to treat you to a most scintillating analysis of the Super Eagles' performance versus Russia like you will find nowhere else. Okay guys, let's get started. Tolu Arokodare added more bite to the attack in his 29 minutes on the pitch than Victor Boniface did in his 60 plus minutes on the pitch. Unlike Boniface, the gang striker was not strolling around. He was not just watching the Russian backline play out from the back. He was running, he was grafting, he was grinding, closing down defenders and pressing the goalie. In the end, his hard work paid off as he actually did assist his own goal by depriving the goalie of choices to pass the ball to. He actually pounced and lashed home with pure class. By the way, that was a clinical finish, not an easy one to bury with the goalie closing him down especially. Overall, Tolu Arokodare had, I think, 18 touches in 29 minutes, while Boniface had 22 touches in 61 minutes, with both having 2 touches inside the box. This undoubtedly shows Tolu Arokodare was busier, was more involved in the game despite spending less than half the game time Boniface spent on the pitch. So Eric Schell further buttressed these points in the post-game presser when he said his team were quiet in the first half because, listen to this, because they were not pressing hard enough. Tolu came on board, did exactly what Schell demanded, walked, pressed, he got the goal. Kudos to him, guys. So quick confession, I was not really a big fan of the gang striker before he came on board. Can we still really bank on him in crucial games? I still don't think so. Can he get better in subsequent games? Oh, definitely yes. I particularly love his, ability to hold up play and the flair he actually exhibits on the ball. He is very exciting to watch. However, he needs to be more clinical in front of the goal, especially aerially. If he's able to do that, because he's kind of guilty of profligacy aerially heading the ball, if he's able to do that, he's going to be a much more reliable and clinical striker. Going by Eric Sekushel's emphasis on pressing, grinding and grafting, I will be shocked if Boniface returns anytime soon. It will take an extraordinary consecutive string of fantastic performances at club level again to stand a chance in the Super Eagles. Fingers crossed. So guys, if you have made it this far watching this video, it only means one thing. You're enjoying what you're watching. So you might as well go beyond just, hitting the subscribe button, but also support the channel as much as you can or as little as you can by clicking this button, the thanks button. So I'd waited for this day for such a long time. If you've been following my channel thus far, I had repeatedly emphasized the need for fierce competition for the #1 spot. Not because Stanley ain't good enough, nah, far from it. Rather, because Stanley appears to be slowly taking his feet off the gas lately. As such, this performance from Maduka Okocha would, naturally wake something up in Stanley's mind and in subsequent matches. So in the end, when there is such competition amongst the goalies, there can only be just one winner, and that's Nigeria. So for me, every team is as good as the quality of depth it possesses in every department across the pitch. Against Russia, Okoye reminded us all that he can be trusted when push comes to shove, when saddled with the responsibility to man the post. He made 3 saves with 2 particularly outstanding ones, including one in the box. It's sometimes easy to get tempted, to dispel the quality of these saves with the wave of a hand. But guys, I assure you, none of those 2 saves especially can be categorized as average. Those were top draws. Ask any established goalie and they will tell you the type of balls that they hate the most. Number 1, those type of balls that keep calling away from the goalie. Crazy balls. Number 2, low balls to the far corner. Check this out, guys. In the case of Prime Pedro Rufai versus Dele Bashiru at the USA 94 World Cup. I've also seen, Prime Enyama concede similar goals as well. Also, most goalies are intuitively more comfortable getting off the ground and making saves in flight rather than going to the ground quickly as much as possible, especially defending a shot within close range. The taller ones especially find it more taxing than the shorter ones. Hence, we need to acknowledge these 2 brilliant saves by Maduka Okocha. Nonetheless, apart from these saves, I noticed Maduka played it safe for the most part of the game. Unlike Stanley, Maduka was not ready to flirt with the obsession of, having to play out from the back. He never craved to be hailed as, a ball-playing goalkeeper. All those, superficial terms, associated with goalies these days. Nah, he needed none of that. All he wanted to do was to defend his goal and get the ball out as quickly as possible to the outfield players, to do their thing. Like, do your thing. I don't want the ball. Just get it done. Let me defend the goalpost. Now, this actually appears to be the only, deficiency in Maduka's game against Russia is ball distributions. He needs to work extra hard with his ball distribution such that he gives his teammates a chance to sustain possession from his distribution from the back. That did not really happen as most of his balls headed straight to the opponents, thus resulting to a low return of about 38 to 39% pass accuracy, as he managed just 13 successful passes out of 33. Other than that, Maduka had one of his best games in Eagles jersey, enough to keep Stanley Nwabali on his toes. When your creative channels decide not to turn up on match day, then you are most likely gonna struggle to create chances for sure. Like I said in my previous analysis, while Crisantos Uche remains a good makeshift number 10 that will, wear out opponents, force them to make mistakes, compel them to concede fouls in vital areas, supply assists occasionally, the fact remains the search for a proper creative midfielder that has the capacity to create something out of nothing is still on. Nonetheless, I still strongly believe on Uche's good day, he will still offer a different solution that would make Eric Shell's team dangerous in the final third. As for Fisayo Dele Bashiru, same thing, low energy levels as well, save for his beautiful attempt at goal denied by Russia and PSG goalie, what's his name again, Matvey Saufonov. He was not really box-to-boxing enough. Check this out, guys. Listen to this analysis and you will realize Dele showed some lapses that actually cost the team on the day. So guys, I just need you to follow this arrow. Can you see this arrow? Okay, just follow the direction of the arrow basically. So remember I told you this is not your regular surface level analysis, right? So while a lot of platforms have actually held Bright, this is Bright right here, they held Bright culpable for this goal, that is the own goal basically. I would tell you it's kind of naive to blame the Fenerbahce fullback for this goal. There's more insights to it. So Dele Bashiru should also be held accountable as well, because this right here is a 2v1 situation. You can see one Russian player here, another Russian player over there on the ball. So this is Bright kind of lost. He's not even sure who exactly to mark. Should he go here? If he goes over here, then he leaves this man, free. And if he stays with this man can actually use the ball to do whatever he wants. He was obviously confused which of the two players he should keep an eye on, basically. So by the time these two players double teamed him, and this dude right here ran into space, it was game over for Osai Bright Samuel and Nigeria, basically. So Dele Bashiru should be somewhere tracking back, and getting the Nigerian team into the right shape defensively. He was nowhere to be found, as you can see. As a result, these actually, if Dele Bashiru had tracked back as he should have tracked back as a box-to-box, central midfielder, then we would have stood a chance to extinguish a potential Russian overload that they actually used to beat Samuel in the 2v1 situation. So this right here is not on Bright at all. For me, it is 100%, or I would say, close to 100% blame for Dele Bashiru for exposing his man over here. He was basically stranded. He didn't know what to do. So in recent past, we watched, rather embarrassingly, I must say, one or two of our retired legends make such atrocious statements as, formation does not matter in football. I've also heard, rather shockingly, a respected veteran, pundit / journalist say formation does not matter. Rather, it is the information in the formation that matters. What? For the journalist, I knew he was trying so hard, to sound clever on TV. Unfortunately, while trying to do so, exposed his not so sound knowledge of the game, I must say. See guys, formation is like the feather soil, while, what he referred to as information is the managerial input through 90 minutes. This managerial input could be likened, to the seed you put into the feather soil. Now, no matter how good those seeds are, if the soil ain't fertile, the seeds ain't growing. So this shows that premium attention must be paid to system deployed, that is formation, as this is the only way a manager renders the system of the opponent or the system of his managerial counterparts counterproductive. Now, CHELLE obviously has a more educated football brain and pays attention to his formation. He does not just put out a formation out there and hopes for the best. Rather, he responds appropriately to his own substitutions and the substitutions of the opposition manager, thus malleable enough to switch formation during the course of 90 minutes. So guys, against Russia, CHELLE deployed at least 3 different systems in 90 minutes. As you can see in your screen, it started out with a 4-2-2-2. These are the 4 at the back. These are the 2 in the middle to provide the double pivot, the first layer of defense in front of the back 4. This is second 2. So this right here is Onyeka and Onyeka. Right here is Chrysanthus Uche and Dele Bashiru. Then the front 2 of Boniface and Simon. So if you like, you can call it 4-4-2 as well. So Dele Bashiru, right here. Dele Bashiru was not really an out-and-out winger as widely misconstrued by many, analysis platforms out there. But he's actually a box-to-box midfielder that, occasionally exploited the right channels. He wasn't an out-and-out winger. He just occasionally exploited the right channels. While Uche, right here, was almost having a free role, kind of, undulating between the midfield and the attack, basically. And at the closing stages of the game, the Franco-Malian tactician was desperate to see out the game. He subbed off Dele Bashiru, introduced Igbo, then tweaked his formation once again to 3-4-3, a formation that makes teams stay compact in the middle as he pushed his full backs to the midfield to complement his double pivot. They say once beaten, twice shy, right? He obviously learns from the blunder against Zimbabwe. Listen to this. Number one, the in-game management. Unlike the World Cup qualifying games where Eric Schell made some questionable substitutions, e.g. against Zimbabwe, 1-goal lead, 3 minutes left on the clock, Schell takes off Osimhen and replaces him with another striker in Victor Boniface, despite already having Tolu Arokodare on the pitch. He would have seen that game out. Schell would have seen that game out by bringing on, Igbo or even Papadaniel. However, with, more time spent on the job, it does look like Schell now knows his team a lot better, as seen in the quality and timing of his substitutions in the Unity Cup game. Also, Eric Sekushel clearly, undoubtedly knows exactly what he wants and is sticking to it unapologetically. He's always said he desires a very hungry, aggressive team pressing, from the final third. Boniface was not giving him that, hence wasted absolutely no time by subbing him off, 16 minutes after the restart. Tolu Arokodare did exactly opposite, pressed aggressively, which inadvertently resulted to Nigeria's equalizer. Like I said in my previous analysis, Eric Schell is cooking. Hopefully, God blesses his efforts and takes us to the World Cup. Good job, Eric Schell. Good job. Fantastic job, buddy. A 4-4-2 as initially deployed by Schell with no natural wingers requires the fullbacks to assume the role of wingbacks during offensive transition, that is. Neither Bruno nor Bright were able to get out of their halves as much as they should, despite having the security of a double pivot in Onyeka and Onyedika, thus preventing the Eagles to stretch the Russia back four to its breaking point. So the Eagles played too narrow, I must say, thus limiting their attacking options. So once Russia realized little or no threats from the Nigeria's wingbacks, they had the audacity to overload our fullbacks, one of which led to the goal. While both players, that is Bruno Yemechi and Bright Osayi Samuel, were two of the busiest players on the pitch with, 65 touches credited to Bruno and about 64 touches credited to Bright. Shockingly, none of these 129 touches combined were registered in the opponent's box. They were all touches in their own half, hence further confirms their inactivity in the final third as wingbacks. Their inactivity in Russia's vital areas is a major reason why we struggle to create chances and supply key passes in the final third through 90 minutes. They actually just managed we managed just two chances, both coming from DM Onyeka and Victor Boniface. A 4-4-2 with no natural winger will only be effective if the fullbacks are not afraid to assume the role of wingbacks. Schell must look into this going forward. It is inappropriate for fullbacks in the absence of wingers to sit back and not attack in offensive transitions. The inactivity of the two fullbacks and the lack of audacity for these two fullbacks to attack during offensive transitions despite having the cover of a double pivot is the reason why we failed repeatedly to stretch the Russian back four. So I believe Schell needs, as a matter of urgency, to look into this. If he's not going to be playing wingers, then he must be able to play very brave fullbacks that would attack the opposition final third. That's the only way we can diversify our channels of our creative channels. I'm almost tired saying this time and again. I don't care what it does at club level with Nons. In a Nigerian jersey, if Eric Shell hopes to squeeze some juice out of Simon, he must actually be deployed as an impact player from the bench in the last 25 to 30 minutes or even less. Moses Simon is perhaps one of the most predictable wingers that I know. He does not have too many type of moves on the ball, hence quite easy to neutralize when paid conscious attention. However, French from the bench versus already fatigued fullbacks, he could use his pace to his advantage. So my advice to Eric Shell again is that Moses Simon should be deployed as an impact player rising from the bench. You're going to get the best out of him. Typically, DMs don't get the credit they deserve, but I dare say Onyeka kept things together for Nigeria in the midfield. Yes, Onyeka was good as well, but he had two contrasting halves, as he was relatively quiet in the first and a lot better in the second half. For Onyeka, he was active throughout the game, intercepting, tackling, and passing. He has the most accurate passes in the midfield with, I think, 36, while Onyeka had just 29. For Onyeka, most of those 29 accurate passes actually came in the second half when he got better. Again, Onyeka had the most interceptions amongst the entire 22 players on the pitch combined, 3 in total. He had the most touches in the midfield, 61, that is, versus Onyeka's 46. He had a sniff at the goal despite being playing as a DM. So Onyeka would need more consistency across 90 minutes to rival Onyeka in the midfield. For now, Frank the Tank Onyeka owns the department and deservedly wins Soccer Nitty Gritty Man of the Match.